Well, hello everyone. I'm sure today's episode of Night Watch is going to be very boring and uneventful. In fact, Joe, I'm not even sure why we're doing this. Is there even anything to talk about, really?
I don't think anything has happened at all significant in the world, but we should probably bring up the president speaking live right now.
Yeah, you got a good link for that. I'll pull him up. Oh, here I got Right Side Broadcasting Network. Hold on. So here's what I'm going to do. He's been speaking for a hot minute. I'm going to rewind it 3 minutes to, oh no, wait, hold on. Less than a minute to the beginning of his speech.
Right on. Thank you, Phoenix Circus.
Oh, hold up. Yeah, if we've got donations coming in, just know, chat, that I literally just got back from a mad dash to the gas station down the road to make sure every container I had, which is capable of holding fuel, was entirely full. So,
not a bad idea.
Anyhow, entirely unrelated. We go now to the president.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East.
All right, he's wrapping that up. We can watch the rest of that later at our discretion, but boy, I have a lot of reactions. I need to sort through them. The first of which is, gee, I sure hope this doesn't somehow get out of hand.
Right? The biggest statement he made in there, and I'm going to catch heat for this because I take both sides of this issue.
Same.
Because unlike a lot of folks on Twitter and even in our chat, I'm capable of separating the Israeli government and the Israeli people.
Mm-hmm.
All Jews are not the Israeli government. But he said right on there that, this is because they have threatened death to Israel for so long. Hey, listen, Israel was doing a fine job. Israel said they could go it alone. We should have just let them.
I mean, again, as scary as I think that commando raid would have been for any of the poor schmucks put in the situation on the ground, it also would have been the stuff of legends. And I said it myself on the show. It would have been better for Israel internationally to have done this alone, I think, but I could be wrong. Let me take a quick break and just say, hey, thank you everybody who's donated subs so far. 5 from Hunch Duty Roof, appreciate you, Hunch. 5 from Low Key LARP, appreciate you, Low Key. And $2 from Hunch Duty Roof for Boots on the Ground by end of July. That's a hell of a prediction. Let me get this one out of the way first. We do apparently have some uploaded video. From on the ground, I'm assuming thanks Elon? Question mark? I assume that's the only way this could have got out is Starlink, but this is apparently what is left of Fordo.
Oh,
yeah, that was a mountain this morning, chat.
so Porto, it's pretty deep underground. Patrick says that's old video.
Is it old video? Okay, good. I was wondering how it got out because I thought all the internet.
There's no way that Israel could strike Fort Out without our help. That's why we came in. Ironically, a friend of the channel and whom I forgot to text told me that he wasn't going to leave for the region until Fordo got hit, and then Fordo got hit. So
he's probably packing bags. I know that I've heard from several of my sources that we'll just say various different assets just got a 72-hour notice. So despite being told that this is a one and done, I think that even the man himself knows that this is almost certainly not one and done. It never is. Speculation though. I heard something interesting this morning, which is Tulsi came out, was it yesterday or the day before? Or maybe it was this morning. And essentially Tulsi, and I need to be clear about this, who has been a very big dove for Iran for a very long time, came out and said that she believes, given the information she's seen, that there's not a lot of options. Now, remember that that's how the intelligence assets manipulate everybody. They can show you whatever they like, but it is interesting that we have people who, for a very long time, have been on the opposite fence coming out today saying, hey, it's go time. Apparently, hold on just a second. Scott might join us.
that would be good.
Link on X.
There's a lot of people saying they dropped 6 GBU 57s. We don't know that yet.
Yeah, that's so. Here's how they're getting that, as far as I understand, and it actually could have been more, chat. But each B2 can carry up to 2, and when they do that, they have to launch with half fuel tanks because they can't fully take off the ground with full fuel tanks and both of those GBUs. When they did take off from Guam, they were at half fuel load, or take off for Guam, or what appeared to be Guam. They were at half fuel load, which would indicate that they each were carrying 2. However, there were 6. There were 6 B-2s that took off in that formation. The other thing that enabled this that I might as well mention on the ground, or is that the Growlers arrived with the aircraft carrier that was sailing into the region. And even though we did have air superiority in the area, the B-2s don't like to be up without Growlers. And so I'm guessing the GBU is the MOP. Yeah, that's correct.
Sort of like the old school Wild Weasel mission, right?
Yeah, just newer with a lot of
the electronic attack 6B. Yeah.
Thank you again for those gifted memberships. To see they're starting to pour in. It would be nice to be able to trust our own intel agencies. Wouldn't it just though? I do, however, think that, like, as darkly hilarious as that thought is, there is another side of that, which is you can never really trust the type of men who go into intelligence agencies. That's the point of them, right?
Right, exactly. Somebody said. So here's the thing. There was multiple. Our first indication that something was up was multiple reports from within Fort Isle that there was ground action ongoing. And that's something we're going to have to resolve, because air attack and ground actions sound nothing alike, right? And something was going on the ground there. And really, in order to do any sort of real strike there, unless you just pounded it for days and days and days, you needed something to open the way. So it's entirely possible that there might have been some sort of ground action to open the door, so to speak. So
another possible theory, and this is kind of cool. This is not. I didn't want to share this because I wasn't aware that this was something that was just out in the public now, but I saw it on Fox earlier. So apparently, this is just something people can talk about now. The GBUs, they have an attack pattern to get roughly time and a half as deep as they're able to go originally. The B-2 with its computer targeting system is capable of keyholing one GBU on top of the hole left by the previous GBU, which the first one will go down to about 300 feet, and then the second one goes down to, I think it's like 500, something like that. It's ridiculous. It does require them to be in the area a lot longer, though.
Yeah.
B-2s aren't invisible to radar. They're just severe. Yeah. Well, so the actual radar cross-section of a B-2 is a very closely guarded secret. Not like most of the people who even work on it don't actually know, but the best guess is it's about 0.001, which would mean that it reflects at its size, it reflects roughly the same radar cross-section as a bumblebee. Hey, another unexpected guest. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
I'm good.
I filled all the gas tanks, and I made sure to make a quick trip and grab a special something and any other supplies we were missing from the house. So better than most people are going to be, I think.
Yeah. There was an interesting report on Al Jazeera tonight talking about the fact that everybody in Iran has a problem because they don't have food, they don't have cash, they don't have all the basics. So, yeah, it's interesting. Kind of a universal thing.
Yeah. I'm also, I've heard from other sources of mine that are, well, without saying too much, we'll just say that they work in cybersecurity for major corporations, some of which have major scary government contracts. And they are saying that they are preparing for and on call for an expected Iranian cyber attack on the U.S. infrastructure and banking system within the next 48 hours.
So when I hear that, I hear not just Iran, but I hear all of Iran's friends.
China.
And there's a big push underway by the PRC now to roll out their interbank system aggressively, which I think we talked about a few years ago.
I'd love to hear your comment on their recent thing towards saying that stable coins are projecting US dollar dominance and they need their own.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, that whole world just eludes me, though. A lot of people have made a lot of money in it. It's still a little creepy. I just think China now sees that it's at the point where it has to do that, and it's said a couple of times, along with a few other countries, that U.S. debt's going to get harder to hold. So, this big beautiful bill that bumps up the spending in Washington should be a bit more concern to our senators, but they don't seem overly concerned. We'll see what happens.
No, they don't. They're too busy trying to figure out which pieces of our most pristine wilderness to sell off to their developer friends to make new Aspen.
I think the only place that makes sense is in Nevada, where they own like 90% of the state. But yeah, I get you.
So, gents,
I find it interesting that
go ahead.
Just prior to these strikes, a Chinese battle group entered the Persian Gulf. And I think that that's significant because that's not really somewhere that they normally operate. I know they did it once last year, but I found that interesting. And I actually took it earlier today as an indicator that nothing was going to happen, that China was, throwing their card on top of the deck, throwing a jack down and saying, hey, don't come in here.
I think they're just securing their oil supply out of Bandar Abbas and the southern ports.
Well, somebody pointed out the fact that before that, for the last week, there have been 2 Chinese electronic warfare ships posted up in the, I think it was Hormuz?
Yeah, they're in the Gulf. They're one on each end.
Almost definitely providing targeting data.
Gotta love it. Predictable kind of stuff. So they're very concerned about the energy issue. And from an economic standpoint, rightly so. They would come to a complete stop without access to Iranian oil. And they're also getting it very cheaply. Kind of being one of 2 buyers, right? They get it cheaply.
So, Jim,
Andrew says the real question is, where is Malcolm Nance?
Oh, stand by.
Yeah.
I heard Malcolm Nance followed another good friend of ours online, our formerly fat Mexican friend out in Las Vegas. I hear he's going to get on that weight loss program, so that'll be good.
All right.
Gents, as long as I got you, best guess on what this is going to do the markets apart from the obvious oil expensive.
Yeah, oil's going to get expensive. If the Iranians do something foolish, and that could be almost anything, then I think you'll see some serious manipulation in the oil markets. I think you'll see prices rise. I think you'll see the Chinese try to have some rule setting on protecting some of that infrastructure. I think the reason it hasn't been touched is I think the Chinese have asked the United States and Israel not to touch it. It'll be interesting though, because I know that the Navy assets have been attacked, but they've been very tightly and attacked in a controlled way. They haven't gone after the oil or gas infrastructure yet. So let's see how they behave. Maybe that's the overture the president made tonight, which is, basically don't do anything silly and let's have a conversation. But if you do something silly, it's going to get really ugly for you. And I think that also means it'll get really ugly for the Chinese energy pathway. And, the Chinese move a lot of stuff through Iran to Russia. And since Kazakhstan got shut down, Iran's one of the few ways to get goods into Russia. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be an interesting week.
The real question is, who's actually in charge in Iran? Because if the Ayatollah is in charge, something stupid will ensue. If somebody convinces him to not be in charge, we have an opportunity here to put an end to this.
Or,
Well,
I mean, we haven't heard yet. Was he potentially one of the targets?
yeah, probably not.
I think if we had him and we knew it, we would have said so.
But what's interesting is there was a senior IRGC guy who's now living in Israel, and
Yep.
it's clear the Israelis had very tight control over this whole program. It took them years to do. I mean, more power to them. But it's interesting to watch what happens when the Israelis get things right again, and they make do with what they have. I mean, I think they would have gone after Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan on their own. I guess the Natanz target is a second location that was a little bit harder than the primary Natanz facility. So we'll see. I remain hopeful.
Do we have any? I didn't hear it in his speech. Has anybody heard what the justification was for after Israel said they could do it on their own, him jumping in anyways? Because it does seem like that statement makes it quite hard on his legacy and image.
Yeah. Well, the Israelis could do it. I think they studied doing parachute drag on the GBU 57s out of the back of C-130s. The problem is C-130s are very slow targets, right? I'm going to guess you could probably get one per C-130, and you clearly need more to be able to blow through. So, we're the best position to do it. We want to get rid of those targets. The Israelis wanted to get rid of the targets. The Europeans appear to want to get rid of those targets. So Saudis don't like that capability in Iran. So I think everybody was kind of like mind that it was just time to get rid of them. And we'll see how the Iranians react.
Well, and it's not just the Iranians that were looking to react, right? I guess we should probably get responsible and look at who the regional power players are and who potentially could decide that they're either going to come in for or against us here, right?
I think they're all for. I don't think there's anybody in the Middle East who's against from a government standpoint.
I think too, though, that we're too quick to apply Western logic and thinking to people like the Iranians. The logical thing to do right here is to cry uncle and to tap out, but that really is not in their interests, right? I mean, it would be in the interest of their people, but for them, that would be admitting weakness and admitting defeat, and they just cannot do that.
Yeah, they're a party state, so it isn't about the 90 million Iranians. It's about the IRGC, the Quds Force, and the mullahs. So it's home and the infrastructure. It isn't the people. So yeah, they'll act in the regime's best interests.
So I actually hate to break this off to a different topic, although it's not that different because it is related. But as long as I have you, Jim, I'd love to get your opinion on something that applies to China that we were just talking about early today, which is Japan canceling their regularly scheduled meeting with the White House after the White House told them they needed to beef up defense money. Which, I mean, I'll just lay this out briefly for those in the chat. If you're not aware, the Japanese economy is a fucking train wreck right now. And a lot of that has been because of heavy investment in the U.S. economy that's not paying off at the moment. And so that does seem kind of callous, but at the same time, with Chinese carrier groups exercising right outside of Japanese water. Jim?
Yeah. Just my take on it is we are not overly nice to the Japanese. I'm not sure why. And yeah, they're under an immense amount of pressure, and they had the two Chinese carrier groups maneuvering in ways Chinese carrier groups have never maneuvered, maneuvering as a pair, which they've never done. And the Japanese were so pissed off about the intercept of one of their aircraft that they ran a destroyer through the Taiwan Straits, which they tend not to do. That was followed by a British vessel. So yeah, the tempo of eye poking that's going on in PACOM is very high. So we'll see what happens. I think the thing with the Japanese, it'll, you know, Washington. This Washington is bright. I think they're doing a lot of the right stuff, but they need to treat our friends a little bit better than they treat them. It's just my observation. They're a little, I think you use the word callous. I think that's probably a good word. It's just people are kind of gruff, but I think it's because everybody's so understaffed because they haven't appointed all the people that they need to appoint yet. For some reason, that's been very slow. The Senate hasn't moved quickly, and the White House doesn't seem to be pushing it. I mean, they've had big turnover in the NSC. They've had big turnover at the Pentagon. They need to get some good people in those slots.
PD's asking if, all right, PD's asking what is PACOM. Indo-PACOM is the term for the sort of entire Pacific Ocean, as the military assigns it as a block of kind of theater of control.
And Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very big.
Right.
I saw some poor reporter trying to go over how big this conflict would be, like just how much space there is in it. And they were like, just the first island chain, they're like, so that's roughly an area the size of America, all of it, not just the CONUS, all of it.
And there's nowhere to stop and get water, and by then Guam will have tipped over because of the weight.
Yes, Guam will tip
absolutely.
over.
So,
we have to time our missile launches, one from each side of the island.
Yeah.
I am hearing sources breaking that one of the pilots, Samuel El Haidi, is announcing that he's home and safe.
The ghost of Jerusalem.
Good Lord.
So we pointed out yesterday that it looked like something would happen this weekend. Here it is. We pointed out that Israel's statement appeared to be poking Donald Trump directly in the eye and daring him to do something, and he did. Thing is this, though, is where do we go from here? And I know, Jim, you already talked about oil, but what about the broader markets? What do they look like tomorrow morning?
Day after tomorrow. What do they look like? I think there'll be volatility, but we haven't really changed anything. What we've done is we've excised something that's been an instability in the global markets for a long time. And the fact that Trump is being assertive is net positive from the U.S. standpoint. Getting involved in a war, bad idea. Doing surgical strikes on this kind of target in Iran, I think you can make a case for this in the markets Monday, though I do think that there's going to be a little bit of volatility. I'm much more concerned about the be nice to allies issue than I am about the taking out of these 3 sites.
Wow, that actually says a lot. And honestly, that's kind of where my brain has been at a lot too.
Now, the one complication, Joe, is if there is a uranium hexafluoride plume that comes up out of these locations and starts killing people in bad ways.
Correct.
And so
which,
if they're going to be flying the, what is it? Constant.
Yeah, I'm looking right now to see if it's up actually.
Yeah. There's a platform that goes up and does that. If we begin to see large amounts of uranium hexafluoride in the atmosphere moving towards places like Pakistan or the Gulf, I think there will be complications politically because everybody will agitate it. So let's hope that it was a sealing event, not an explosive event.
What do we think this does as a group here to the domestic situation? People are saying that Congress is all over talking about impeaching him now on X because he took unilateral action, which is ironic, right? We invaded Syria.
There's no grounds for that. That's bloviating Tim Kaine and those people who are running this year, right? So they've got an election coming up, and they're all They're all agitated about this because they've got an election coming up and they're all trying to look powerful. This war powers thing has been fought over in the courts a dozen fucking times. It's not, nobody's going to go after Trump for this. Perfectly legitimate action by a president, and he's already got we're in a state of emergency here in the domestic world. The attacks on Israel are more than enough justification for executive action. My take. And full disclosure, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not an asshat.
Yeah.
Well,
actually, I might have one of those in the drawer here. Let me see if I can
Here's
get
the
it
thing.
on.
There not
Yeah.
being grounds doesn't stop them from doing anything, as we have seen before.
Yeah. My problem right now is, and the thing that's most destabilizing potentially, Joe, is that there are sleeper cells in some of the major cities, and some of them are stupid enough to take action, and some of our intelligence community hasn't been paying attention to them as a primary threat. Though the English rolled a couple of them up this summer, this spring. Actually, while we were in London, they rolled one up. So they're there. We know they're there. People know they're there. Let's hope that the FBI has a good handle on them in our country. Yeah, that's knowing Snickers. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
Oh. I just got to say another thank you, $2 from Hunch. With the fact this attack was down a canyon, needing pinpoint precision, did the pilot pop womp rats in the family speeder back home?
So true. Yeah, exactly. This is where the cruise missiles come in, man. You
got to make this full. That's only 2 meters across.
Yep.
For those of you unaware, the B-2 is an absolute fucking marvel of engineering. It's capable mostly on its own, with just pilot guidance. Basically, they tell it where to go and they can take over if they need to, but it has a system where it has ground following radar where it's capable of flying 200 feet off the deck at 600 miles an hour automated. Like it's it's an unbelievable machine.
And it's expensive as hell.
Oh God. Also, I had a shower thought that's like one of those, oh, I better not say that out loud or I might get a knock on my door style shower thoughts, where I think I might have figured out a dual internet mystery. I'll type it in the chat on the other side, but yeah. Anyways, gents, what do we think is going to be Iran's like? What is the situation, Joe? Do you think on the ground in Iran right now? Because for the last several nights, they have had mass missile volleys as well as suicide drone attacks, and we're getting very, very little of that on the ground tonight.
Well, I think right now there's confusion on the ground. There always is when you're on the receiving end of air. So I think that right now they're not sure it's over. They're not sure there's not going to be a second wave. And it would be just like the United States to say, okay, this is over, and then launch a second wave. So I think right now they're trying to do some battle damage assessment. They're trying to figure out what happened on the ground just beforehand. So I think that we probably use some sort of partisan activity or Israeli commandos to open the door there at Fort Al. Something happened on the ground before the strikes came in. Don't really know what it is, but we'll have to find that out, which is a problem Iran will have to resolve before they can respond to anything else. Next, I think that they are reaching out to every proxy that they have in Iraq to attempt to strike at any of our bases that they can hit. And I also think that they're going to have the Houthis begin attacks again on U.S. and Israeli shipping. The Houthis recently, I've got an update here from Ambry that the Houthis said if the America joins the Israeli strikes, then the deal they have with the U.S. Navy is off. So there is the potential for some more strikes in the Red Sea and heating up the whole region. I see Iran attempting some sort of naval action because it's really the only thing that they're actually good at. But that would be pretty short-lived and bad for them, as we showed them once in 88 or 87, I mean. So there's that potential, but there's also some Chinese cover in the area. So I really don't know.
Yeah, I think the Chinese are probably there to get their nationals out, be my guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. An evacuation operation
wouldn't surprise me in the least. But
that would
again,
lead me to believe that the Chinese know that this is more than a single strike.
Yeah, they also know it's also probably part of the deal, which is we're not going to take out your infrastructure in southeastern Iran. And again, I think the Chinese would really lose their minds if the oil and gas infrastructure was gone. So Trump clearly doesn't want that, or appears not to want that.
I'm actually kind of curious. Is the Chinese and who else buys uranium? Is it the Indians?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
Indians buy Russian and Iranian. The Indian energy guy was interviewed many years ago, right at the beginning of the Ukraine war. He said, "Hey, look, I don't care where it comes from. My job is to get low-cost energy for the Indian people. I buy it on the international market. I don't care what the source is."
Right. There's Thor chiming in his opinion.
Hey, Thor, good boy. Chat, I'd be curious what you guys think. Oh my goodness. We'll get your opinion in just a second, chat, once the man materializes. There he is. How you doing, Scott?
Hey guys, what's going on? Any interesting riots going on in the world?
Yeah, nothing. No, I don't even know why we're here. Honestly, no big news stories.
Just in chat.
How much have you heard?
Well, I'm just curious how quickly they'll get their Iraqi proxies going, because I was thinking, like, as I was walking in here and setting up my thing, the only real proxy of theirs that's completely intact, if you discount the secret infiltrators inside the U.S., are the PMF, in Iraq. So I'm just curious to see how much longer before we see some sort of. I gotta wonder. It's only what was the time of the hit? Like about 2-3 hours ago.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that they are. I figure they're still probably in response mode. You know what I mean? Like they haven't quite got. They're probably still a little discombobulated. And it's early morning there too.
So also weirdly, last night there were far fewer strikes into Israel than there had been in days previous. Also, something that I wanted to mention before that we haven't really gone into. Why did he do it on a Saturday? And I think I actually have the answer to that. I've been kind of looking to see if there were any updates in the talks between Iran and us, and there were. Iran actually said that if it's a choice between, like, word for word said that if it's a choice between not having nuclear enrichment programs or going to war with the US, they choose war. And that's a pretty unambiguous statement.
Yeah. So I go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
I was going to say this entire sequence of events makes it appear to me as though the entire Israeli campaign to date has been nothing but one giant wild weasel campaign to degrade and destroy
exactly
Iranian air defenses to enable the U.S. to just come in and lay waste to things.
I think you're correct.
Yeah, they got the air defense and they got all their tells, right? So they took the tells out, they took out air defense, and there's really nothing. There's no way for the Iranians to project threat.
What what's interesting about the smaller number of missiles that was attacked by Iran, they had a larger percentage of hits. And so we're also reaching, this is something that we talked about, Jim, like tons of times, is how long do your interceptors last, right? And I think Israel's reaching the point of like they have to go in sustained rate of fire mode versus cyclic on the Iron Dome and the Arrow 3s and things like this that they have. Those are their interceptor programs. So I think there's like this kind of weird confluence of like, this is literally, if there is a right time, this is the right time.
We also remember Trump redirected a very large shipment of anti-aircraft missiles and air-to-air missiles that were headed to Ukraine. He redirected them to, quote, U.S. forces in the Middle East. This is why.
And there,
right?
and there was a buildup of American ADA in the region over the last few months. So
absolutely, any patriot you could get your hands on, any THAAD you could get your hands on, and also they really like those small, what is it, the 2.75 guided rockets. I forget the name of them, the little tiny ones that they put the seeker on, because those are fantastic for taking out drones. And so those all disappeared into the Middle East.
I'm seeing some people very confused in chat. Iran is enormous. Iran is like Texas, but with the geography of Utah.
It's bigger than Texas.
It's a big country with 90 million people in it.
Yeah, and it has a lot of people too. That's another thing. People think, oh, well, there was 20 million people there. No. There's 90 million people, and the irony too is that I was talking about Korea the other day, and I described Korea as a country about the size of the state of Indiana, with the arable land or the livable land of the size of Maryland, with the population twice that of Florida, right? And Iran is not dissimilar in that it's got a pretty good sized population, and they don't live all over the place. They just live in some fairly concentrated, corridors and urban centers. Tehran is a big city, and it's in the middle of the mountains. Joe, we were watching video the other day of them schwacking the the facilities in and around Tehran. And you remember those mountains? They were all up on mountains, like around, like it's like Tehran's in a bowl.
Yep, all the way around. Yeah,
gentlemen, I've got video. Thank you, Chester Belloc. You're my constant video hunter, and I appreciate the hell out of you. This is Istvan nuclear research geoconfirmed strike video. If we have strike video coming out, that means they had forward observers.
Well, it also means probably the Starlink is up and running. It is, we heard the beams are back on, but we're seeing that. Now, which site is this?
Istvan.
Istvan, okay. So my understanding, it's Istvan, Nantes, and Fordham, right?
Fordo, yeah.
Fordo, yeah.
There was good Lord. Did you guys see it? Hold up. Watch right here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got it because I heard the booms in the video.
Yeah, it's off in the distance, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long ways away. But
Watcher, share my screen if you would.
Oh, hold on. There we go. Don't rename it.
So this is 9 minutes ago. This is Donald Trump over on Truth Social. Any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. So clearly they're thinking about the retaliatory kind of, potential in this. We saw the aircraft are completely, they're already... They're already locating it. Nice.
There's a lot of autists with nothing else to do tonight.
There are a lot of autists, period. So my understanding is that the Isfahan site was target of TLAMs, and that probably all 6 of the MOPS went into the Fordo site. So the interesting thing there is there was indicators of weird things flying overhead in and around the region of Isfahan, right? Joe, if I remember correctly, you correct me because you probably know more about this than I do, but like when TLAMs come in, they don't come in like all at once. They come in kind of like in 6 waves of 2 and 3 at a time.
Yeah, staggered, and they travel on waypoints away from where they're actually striking, right? So you
Right.
can't like draw a straight line between it and decide where it's going.
Right.
Oh,
They
shoot.
dogleg in.
Gents, I've got footage of one of the pilots right now. Huh.
The thing about using the T-Lance for Isfahan is where it's at. It was probably the only weapon you could really get in there safely and get back out. It's too risky to bring human pilots that far in. Natanz and Florida, not so much. So,
Watcher, I noticed. Okay, no, you got it. I just want making sure that you were live on Rumble. The icons are just different than what
so also with Isfahan is the way that the place the facility is it's to the north side of the city, but it's still in the city, and they're very concerned about peripheral damage. Still, they don't want to do any damage to civilians.
I tell you what, if the Iranians don't rise up, then they clearly have always supported, at least tacitly, this regime. So they're getting every opportunity to.
Yeah, the problem is in a country like Iran, it's going to take somebody pretty high up in the IRGC to decide to take over.
Exactly right.
So
100%.
you'll end up with a military strongman, which never a good outcome for the people. But that's how this ends, I think. We're not going to see Reza Pahlavi go back in. He's spun up and speaking a lot to the people, and the people like him, but I don't think they don't see the Shah's son as being the next leader of the country. It's really hard to come back into a country after 40 or 50 years of being in the diaspora and say, hey, I'm back, I'm going to take over. That very seldom works.
Oh, come on. Living the life of luxury in Egypt wasn't preparing him to.
No, he lives in Potomac, Maryland, man.
Well, I gotta wonder though. Israel's clearly got a network inside, a pretty crazy network inside of Iran. I wonder if they don't have basically groups that could potentially play the kind of role of the skeleton of a resistance. I mean, they can't have enough to be a full resistance.
Did you saw the photo of the IRGC general who's now in Israel, right?
Yeah, I did. That's what I'm saying.
The
biggest story this year that never was, right? We talked about
exactly
it
right,
but everybody else ignored it, and we were like, "Hey, this is a big deal." And
it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal,
and it made more sense after the strikes started happening, right?
And you look at the guy. I saw the guy. I looked at him and I said, "My God, he could be a diamond dealer in Antwerp. Look at it." And it was just a really funny conversation. Lose the olive drab and put on the right garments.
But Jim,
stop. This is too good. Breaking: Iran announces it's pursuing legal action.
They're gonna get somebody. They're gonna get somebody in the DC circuit to get on their side.
Their Red Devil says they want to get on the burn pit registry.
Here's my question: at what point do pro Iran, pro Hamas, pro Palestine?
They're going to be out in the street tomorrow.
Yeah,
well, but at what point do we start calling them enemy combatants? And then Joe, I mean, this is the perfect example if the Trump administration wanted to go hard in the paint against some of these Marxists in the streets, this would be the way to do it.
The Sedition Act is going to get used quite a bit, and I think that's a very big possibility. Because we are in a time of actual hostilities. It makes it way easier to prove.
Did you say the Perdition Act?
Perdition,
something like that.
Watcher, I just shared. These are pro-Iran, not pro-Iran protesters at Penn Station. Sorry, I shared it in the wrong. I shared it in Well, I guess it was today before the attack. So the post is 3 hours ago. There you go. You got it.
I see your Palestinian flags.
I know, but my point is that they don't have any other flags. They haven't been able to, print off their Iranian flags yet. What's annoying
What
to me
exactly
is
are they doing?
it's just mobbing into Penn Station. This is
Taking
the
over
this
the
is the
train
what
station.
yeah, this is the the station. It's a really big station in like right underneath Madison Square Gardens.
Just
I know what
live?
Penn Station is, Scott.
No, not live. This was during the day today, I believe. But the irony is that the way this looks on Saturday during the day versus how it looks tomorrow during the day on Sunday, big difference, right?
Yep.
Nothing says we're on the right side of history like hiding your face because you're afraid of being identified.
That's exactly right.
Well, they're worried mom and dad will get angry and stop paying the bills.
Yeah, they're worried about
Mom, you didn't
the
bring me
gravy.
down any meatloaf tonight. Well, I saw you on the YouTubes.
I thought this was kind of interesting. Did y'all see Fetterman's statement?
Yeah.
What did he say?
I think the lump is taken over.
As I've long maintained, this was the correct move by POTUS. Iran is the world's leading sponsor of terrorism and cannot have a nuclear capabilities. I'm grateful for and salute the finest military in the world. So, hey, let's do this, guys. I mean, we all know the basically the two sides that absolutely exist within the conservative movement right now are essentially Iran shouldn't have a weapon and should be attacked, and then the other one, and we should support our Jewish allies or Israeli allies. And then the other side is we should stop doing Israel's bid. It's almost entirely about Iran. It's way more about like the position of how you should feel about.
Oh. Scott, I don't know if it's just me or if everybody else is also getting the same, but I'm getting some breakup on
Yeah, he's frozen for me right now.
Maybe turn off the cam. But I did just get a little update that it does appear that most of Iranians' key military strategists who would have been leading the response to this are
they'd be dead.
Yeah. Which explains why we're not. Oh yeah, you're back. Mostly you're still frozen.
Yeah, they got a spike. They got a spike in the bedroom, literally.
I think you might be correct. That might be the action you were talking about on the ground, Joe.
I tell you, those remote-controlled spike launchers are hilarious.
Scott loses connection right as he talks about them too. Well, you're not wrong. Yeah, no, there a lot of chatter commenting about a lot of neocons.
Turn my VPN off.
Oh, he's coming back. Maybe not yet, but he's coming back. Oh, there he is. Now he's back entirely. Video at all.
Yeah. I turned my VPN off.
Oh, no, now he's gone.
It's just my internet.
I think your internet's just spiking. Real quick, $2 from for if Iran tries to retaliate with legal action, Trump will pull out his ultimate secret weapon, the Jewish lawyers. I did think that was a little strange. We're going to sue you. We have all the Jews.
Well, what's going to happen is they're going to go after New York. They'll go into the courts in New York and try to sue. They'll try to pile on Trump, but it won't get very far.
I think that's probably accurate. This is actually a pretty good tweet by Mike Shelby. What if I told you this isn't the end of the war? 99.9% of X tonight is under the assumption that U.S. strikes destroyed Iran's nuclear material. Consider that Iran moved it from the site they've known for weeks was going to be destroyed, and more strikes will be required. He's absolutely not wrong here.
I will say that Another interesting indicator, gents. I didn't see any leaks. Oh, Scott's back. Maybe. Nope.
Maybe.
No, doesn't look like it. There were no leaks. When's the last time you remember a single military operation happening in the last 20 years that none of the media knew about beforehand?
When's the last time we had a Secretary of Defense whose head wasn't up the Washington media's ass?
Well, I mean,
that's a good point.
No, this is Hegseth. This is Hegseth having zero tolerance. It's freaking working.
Diatica with the winning federal district court has just ruled the president Donald Trump to rebuild the nuclear facilities he just leveled in Iran.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the federal court's about to take a T-Lamb. Oh man. Yeah, I think what's interesting about Donald Trump is he clearly doesn't give a shit what people think right now.
Yeah.
He is doing what he and his advisors think is the correct course of action. And I think Washington just cannot understand that mindset, because everything that they do in Washington is about them now, and it isn't about the national interest. So Trump, it's been so long since there was somebody focused on national interest that was in power. They have no idea what to make of him.
I think that's exactly correct.
And I have to say, I'm impressed with Marco Rubio. I'm impressed with Hegseth. I think they're great. They're going to make errors like everybody else makes errors. It's a complicated thing, but boy, they appear to be taking action and doing what's right. Not perfect, mind you. I mean, I don't like getting involved in foreign wars. It's not my thought. In this case, I think surgical strikes make sense, but I also think Israel could have done it. I think we wanted to do it. We can do it better than them, but they could have done it. So
yeah, I really think they could have done it. And in my opinion, we should have let them, if for no other reason than plausible deniability, right? We might have been able to help them with a little wink and a nod, like drop off a weapon shipment that nobody thinks they have. But now we are 100% on the hook. So
I'll tell you the other side of this that's just baffling to me, and you've said it right there. Why would you admit to this? Why would you come out and issue this statement? Why any of that?
That's Trump's weakness. He wants people to know it's him.
Well, that exactly. That goes to my point on Friday of when Israel said, well, look, we don't need the Americans. We can do it without him. That forced Donald Trump to have to do something, because Trump can't allow that to stand. He has to be the biggest swinging one in the room.
Yeah, so. the Israelis played him.
Yeah.
Wow. I do have to say this picture makes me feel things.
I would say Trump grabbed the Iranians by something tonight.
I did. Somebody showed me a B-12 bomber shirt that says delivery within 12 hours and the next one's free.
I think somebody did point out in the early afternoon that a bunch of planes left Whiteman. And I guess that should have been our indicator, right?
It was. Yeah. It was about 6 hours before the strike supposedly took place. That's where I got the intel about the half-loaded ones. And it was 6 of them. They thought they were heading towards Guam, though. So,
yeah, I think there was a big play afoot. I think we're getting smarter. I think it's Hegseth and the new NSC guys that are being run by Marco Rubio. I think they're thinkers rather than clones of security past. Though I'm sure that shop is probably on fire. It must be a very difficult place to work.
Hey, put Hunch's thing on the screen, because I don't even want to say it.
Did he do it on Rumble? Because I don't have Rumble linked over here.
Yeah, it's on Rumble. It says, I just heard it was Tim Kennedy on a solo mission, oiled and naked, with just a bag of grenades and a knife, who landed before the attack and opened the blast doors. That was the gunfire. That's how Tim Kennedy's going to tell it anyway.
Yeah. So So Fox News has the screen up now. They're talking about all the U.S. facilities in Iraq. Back to Joe's comment earlier, that is the easiest thing for them to touch.
Well, can we also say that didn't Iraq itself say that it wouldn't permit the U.S. to join this war?
Yeah, but what can Iraq do?
They can stop selling oil to China. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Attack
Iraq
our
doesn't have
bases?
any military capabilities that we don't own the keys to.
Aren't there supposed to be, I mean, just supposedly, Iranian militias there? Oh, no, wait, no,
but
that's right.
those
They rolled them
are
up, didn't they?
militias. Those are militias under control of the Iraqi federal government, allegedly. But as Scott just pointed out, the what do they call them? Whatever they are, the local militias. But that's the only thing. But the Iraqi government doesn't have the ability to stop us from launching strikes on Iran from their territory. Is what I was saying.
Yeah, the Shia forces that have been pulled into the army tend to have a loose command control structure. So,
Rob, yeah, we've gone over that. They don't have them theoretically. Again, it's never been tested, and I'm not sure that it would work, but theoretically you could drag deploy them. I'm not sure that would work though, because they have to be dropped from 30,000 feet and they have to be going at least 600 miles an hour. Which I don't know that can be done with a drag deployment, because it slows you to very, very slow speeds when it pulls you out the back.
you started whatever terminal velocity is from 30,000 feet for 30,000 pounds with that kind of surface.
You're probably right. And it's
my guess is it would be really close. Supposedly there was a lot of this done. I've seen video footage of it happening, and it's out the back of a C-130.
Okay, very cool. But yeah, so they theoretically maybe. But as the gentlemen here have said, it seems like Trump was goaded into acting. However, when I heard the Israelis talk about doing it, they were talking about doing commando raids, which
that would have been very, very dangerous.
That would have been probably the most dangerous military operation in modern history, without much of a question. The logistics for it alone are nigh impossible, but not quite impossible.
I mean, go back to Desert One, go back to Entebbe, go back. I mean, going that far to do something like that, unbelievably difficult.
Yeah. If any sort of ground action happened, it was the Israeli commandos that were already on the ground in the area.
But he's back.
Outer
Mostly. You, why don't you just try it without the video, Scott? Because you're still breaking up somewhat. Hopefully the audio. Good. Your audio.
That's so much better, Scott. It's a younger picture of you.
So what would the play be, do we think, for sleeper cells? Obviously, some of them are just going to go on their own cognition, but I'm guessing others are waiting for go orders, and the people who would normally give those go orders are, again, likely dead. Or are they going to wait? Is this something where they do try and pursue international law, and if that doesn't work out for them, then they can activate the sleeper cells?
So
I've seen a lot of. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Joe. Sorry, you're up.
I was just going to say that I've seen a lot of question and talks about what do the Iraqi people do? I mean, the Iranian people do right now. Well, I'll be honest, the Iranian people don't really have access to what happened. They're going to get told what the government wants them to know. And because most of these strikes were not anywhere where anyone really lives who doesn't work for the projects that they are on, other than Isfahan, really. Most people are just going to think that it was more continuing fighting between them and Israel. So they don't know they just got hit by the U.S. unless someone tells them. We like to think that everywhere in the world has Facebook and Twitter and the rest of the internet, but they have very throttled versions of it, right? So they're going to get whatever they're told. So I don't think you'll see a mass uprising exactly tomorrow.
Well, yeah. Point of fact, the internet's been down essentially for 4 days now in Iran. So I mean, that's not throttled internet. That's no internet.
And television. The Israelis took over the television system and broadcast for a couple of hours earlier in the week. So there are mechanisms to get information out in Iran, and I'm sure it's on as much of a volume as it can possibly be at this point. The Israelis are very good at that. So the mobile phone network, if it's working, and I'm going to guess a lot of texts are going out, and other media.
You know what? One of the things that I'm really interested in now, because this is, we're all about future conflict, right? I mean, this is what's happening now, but if you don't think this doesn't directly impact future conflict, you're fooling yourself. The other future conflict that I'm interested in, because ultimately the ball's in Iran's court now, right? Iran has to decide what they want to do. Do they go hard in the paint like me and Joe have theorized that they could do, and in a really negative way? Or do they decide, well, we still want to, we want to go the Jelani route and sell out essentially all and get hooked backed up to the SWIFT system, just like Assyria did the other day.
I've got people commenting, so I'm just going to bring it up. This is an interesting take, one I'm kind of surprised I didn't think of first, but this gentleman says that's for 1-8. And you know what? I'm kind of okay with that.
I think that at some point Iran has to respond, but it might be a muted response like they did before, right? Launch 10 or 12 rockets at some of our bases, tell us when they're coming so that we can get hunkered down and say, see, look, we struck them. And then they might actually negotiate, but I doubt it in this case. I think things are too far gone down this path right now.
You think we're knocked down, drag out from here on?
I do, but I've been wrong.
I think that's probably a good call. I don't see what other the people involved. I don't see what other choices they have, and B, I don't see what other choices their own moral framework and mentality leave them. But again, I've been wrong before too. Would be really terrible. Like I'd be curious. I want to hear old Hong Kong, but I'd also be curious to hear what everybody thinks about the following. And I've had it said to me quite a few times, what if they do pack up and try and do just a dirty bomb, or many of them? The uranium's not it's not ideal for that, but it's also not the worst thing in the world for making a dirty bomb.
Yeah. And if they've got uranium hexafluoride, they have uranium metal, and they probably have a bunch of other things too. It doesn't need to be fissible. It just needs to be nasty. So you want something that has a very long half-life that is radioactive, because if it tests as a radioactive substance, you can't let people back in, right? So you can make areas, it is one of those area denial weapons that you can't deny.
Scott, sorry, I should answer you in the private chat, but I might as well just say it. You're not breaking up now. We're getting you loud and clear when you're talking, I think.
All right. No, so you can hear me now, fine?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So because it's daytime here, I feel like this apartment complex is getting a lot more internet traffic. So
all of the StarCraft players are currently engaged in.
Well, it's not like it's a slow news day and nobody's on the internet trying to find out what's going on.
Right. What a time to be alive. Gents, I hate to think of how many neocons are walking around with priapism at the moment.
Yeah, I'd like to see what Lindsay is up to today. He's probably having a party.
I'd imagine so.
He's taken over the Diddy business.
Whoa.
Dirty bombs in U.S. I don't think it's gonna go that far. I'd say it'd be Tehran, or not Tehran. I'd say it would be Israel that it get hit, and
Tel
Aviv if they can, but if not, like anywhere inside of Israel would be prime target.
Listen, some of you are getting way too graphic in the Rumble chat, and I need you to dial it.
I was unaware that Rumble had a special icon just for ladybugs, and now I know that, and I didn't want to.
Yeah.
How else could this go, though? I mean, I personally think that probably most of the upper leadership are true believers. Is that fair?
I think that the biggest risk and the scariest outcome for me, and this is not the most likely course of action. It is a least likely course of action, but it is a course of action, and that is a homegrown terrorist inspired by their feelings for Iran and pro-Palestine and anti-Israel and anti-U.S. who does it. Someone whose name is not Mohammed or Ahmed. Someone whose name is David.
I think you're actually probably pretty spot on. That's probably a lot more likely than most people are thinking. Because
so what would drive them to do that, Joe?
Believing what his professors tell him.
Thank you. That was.
I mean, I'm being honest here, right?
Yeah. No. I'm just. I'm admiring the way that Jim wields words like a bullfighter wields a saber. It's wonderful.
He does. Well, it's that too, and the inbred hatred of Israel that comes out of the American college system, right? And look, Israel does a lot to earn that, but they also don't do everything that people are told that they do. So
the Iranian diaspora is an interesting space, right? The bits of Iran, so Venezuela, Paraguay, LA, for some reason North Carolina, right? Places where you have these clusters of what are, second and third wave migrants. It's really intertwined with organized crime. So places like Paraguay, Venezuela, a lot of smuggling goes on, a lot of illegal currency activity, money laundering. When you have cells that finance themselves, they're very often failed cells because they won't give up the business to go do the mission. So you have to have somebody who's really a psycho. So you have to have a 12er or some other really devout person who will choose to go out and do that. And the sad thing for us is you only need one or two of them to be like that. I'm going to guess there are a lot of them. And they're probably all involved in the organized crime activities. So organized crime means lower probability they're going to do something silly. But crazy doesn't go away. Let's just hope there's not a lot of crazies.
They need someone who believes in 72 virgins.
That's it, or they believe that the end of times is here, and that that the guy at the bottom of the well will come up if they precipitate end of times. So, the 12th Imam group, look it up if you want and read about it. It's an interesting cult. So
it is. And the Iranians are fully in on that.
Well, the guys in Qom, a good number of them are. Yeah, that's the pure line for them. Yeah,
there's Scott.
Yeah, I'm going into my turkey pace plan. If you remember those days.
Yes, I do.
God, the fucking internet.
Speaking
was
of which,
so bad
Scott,
there.
I got a couple boxes today.
Oh yeah.
I haven't laid hands on them myself. Yeah, the guy who's watching Shop on Saturdays received them. So it wasn't all of them, it doesn't look like. So I think we probably got one of the covers. So
there should be 3 separate shipments. So. Very good. But so,
go ahead, Scott.
One of the things. Okay, hey guys, let me know if I break up, because even the phone doesn't seem to be perfect.
Will do.
Here's what I want to know, guys. What do you guys think about basically the civil war this is going to unleash inside of the the conservative movement right now, because right now you have literally two very stalwart camps. The no war, none of our business camp, and then we gotta get Israel's back camp. I mean, there's definitely, and these people are very committed, and
Or is that
ironically,
called
I
the Joe
feel
camp and the Scott camp?
well. I'll be honest with you. I don't feel like it's our business, but at the same time, if you're going to use, I'm in the middle. I honestly am in the middle. I'm fairly ambivalent. I don't feel like we have to support Israel per se, but at the same time, I don't think Iran should have a nuke. So it's kind of like, like I honestly feel like none of us are really in that camp, honestly.
So my observation
where do you guys think that's going to go, and does it basically do people break ties over it?
No. So I think the way this goes is this is such a successful surgical strike against something that's been a rock in our shoe for 40 fucking years. I think everybody will support Trump. You might hear some vetching on the side. It basically cuts Tim Kaine's balls off and says, we really don't care if you have a vote on Tuesday. I mean, yeah, it's one of those irrelevancies, right? So I have a feeling most of the R's are just going to go, shit, well done, right? Let's see what the Iranian response is. If this turns into a quagmire, it's a problem. If it doesn't turn into a quagmire, we're good. And I'm going to say it's a 50-50 play. Maybe 51-49 at this point. It's looking pretty good. And I think the Israelis probably really helped with the risk assessment, right? Because they got guys on the ground, clearly. I mean, good God, they had an IRGC general as one of their agents. You can't get better than that, right? I mean, he bet it was the guy in charge of domestic security too. So, yeah, this has been a long time.
He had an interesting Rolodex when he came across that border.
And diamonds. Yeah, I think I have a feeling this has been decades in the making on the Israeli side, and I think Trump's operating with a decent book. So we'll see what happens.
You know who is probably flat out doing the Pablo Escobar staring out meme right now? Obama.
Well, what's funny is you remember Obama sending those pallets of cash to these guys?
That's literally why we're here.
No, exactly. That paid for the pathway to setting up the oil and gas capabilities to supply China. And then that paid for these facilities. And it probably supplied the back channel for not only the missile platforms, but the enrichment and weapon design platforms. So, I mean, come on. I mean, that guy is a horrific embarrassment. Horrific embarrassment. And if you don't believe that, go read some more, because any logical person with an IQ over 65 will get to that point.
Oh yeah. So guys, Scott, if I'm seeing it's not working on your end, if you want to say goodbye to the chat, you go ahead and do so. If not, then we'll just let him know that you got to take off. I do not see the mute button moving, so I assume that he's probably down and out. Chat recommends that we should all get on Google Maps and find the Fordow facility and suggest an edit. They are probably temporarily closed.
Exactly. No kebab today.
Yeah, I honestly, guys, most of the people that I follow that were the most against this, that were not weirdly pro-Iranian, which we can get into that later because I have no idea where the hell that strain comes from. But most of the guys that were just saying we should not get involved are generally now just pointing out, like, actually, I just had Dale Stark up, and that was a perfect one. Dale Stark points out that our national debt before 9/11 was roughly $6 trillion, and we're at, what, 34 now? not counting the big beautiful bill, and that now it's time to focus on matters at home.
He's right.
Yep,
That's true. And not sell off the national parks and national forests. Hey, how about that?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. I hear that might actually die on the vine. Maybe it's not over yet, and it's not time to start pushing by any sense of the imagination. But we are getting a lot of key players that were involved are now waffling. So keep up the pressure tactics, folks.
I do know that Braxton McCoy is slaying Mike Lee and his strategist. So
yeah, that was an interesting dragging moment. I haven't had a good one like that since a certain coffee company decided to take a certain other person's brand.
yeah, but are we getting any reliable video out of anywhere in Iran right now?
Let me look back up through because I haven't been taking a very good look. Chester Bellick has some from Iranian TV. Let's check this out real quick. I think we lost Jim. Okay, so that's just all going to be in a language I don't speak. Iran state TV says 3 nuclear facilities struck by U.S. had already been evacuated, implying the nuclear materials were moved to other locations. Well, I mean, the material is one thing, and I'm sure that can be dealt with. I think that the main thing was the enrichment capacity, and you certainly did not move the centrifuges. Am I wrong? I don't think that's something you can just tear up and run out with in a week.
I don't know. It could be. It might not be. It depends on which kind and which types. PD asked a question about the size of centrifuges. That's a difficult question to answer because different centrifuges do different things. The answer is yes, both.
So apparently we hit 4 now with all 12 of those mops. That's
It's a pretty bad day. They call that a full package.
Oof. Yeah. I am going to be very interested to see as daylight breaks in Iran what satellite imagery shows of the site. Although it's probably going to be obscured, so probably not satellite imagery first. Probably the most useful first thing is going to be synthetic aperture radar imagery of the site, which should be able to see through the.
That's really the minimum you can get because in a closed society, you can't send a guy over with a camera to look.
Yeah,
you can't rely on the commercial satellites because they know when the commercial satellite's coming over. Everyone's having internet problems. Gee, I wonder why. Probably because somebody has turned loose their 4 million hackers to try and bring it down. So,
can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, I'm literally on different internet. So.
We've fallen way further down the communications plan. Next, he's going to be contacting us through radio repeaters, chat.
Yeah, this is why you need to think about the Starlink as part of your pace plan.
Yeah, I was literally at Walmart earlier today before this went down, staring at the ones they have in the case in there that are just you buy. I think it's like $150 for the mobile version. I am, man, I wish I had that extra money right now.
You can't get super chats yet, can you?
Did Jim say not on this channel? That's why we're doing it over here, is that we have just a little bit of view left available. But if people do want a super chat, we can get it over on Rumble, and we have been reading them.
And I don't really know what happened to Jim. I don't know if he just fell off or what.
Yeah, we didn't get a good night out of Jim. He just kind of dropped. So,
was he breaking up at all for you guys?
Negative. However, I would not be surprised if we're also getting reports out of the chat that they're having all kinds of screwy internet issues. So, as I was saying, my friends that are in the cybersecurity industry that work for major corporations as well as some governmental contracts have said that they are on 24-hour call for the next 48 hours and that they're thoroughly expecting something really nasty to happen to both the infrastructure, banking infrastructure, internet infrastructure, all of the above. Although I will say that somebody made a very ridiculous statement that I want to laugh at for just a moment with everyone else. Former CIA, I don't even know if he was a coder or if he was just an intel analyst, came out and said that, we need to be very careful because when we release Stuxnet, we let the Iranians have the code for it, and so they can turn that around on us. That's retarded. Like utterly and completely retarded. Yeah, the technology that made up the kind of worm that Stuxnet has been considered old hat for more than 2 decades. No, they're not going to turn Stuxnet around on us. They'll turn much worse around on us.
It looks like your boy Little Bob is back.
The irony about Stuxnet, it wasn't the code that was groundbreaking. It was how they got it into the system.
Yes, correct, and brilliantly done. And weirdly, even to this day, however many years later, people still take random USBs and shove them into their computers. It's baffling. Little Bob, thank you so much for $20. Really appreciate you. Breaking news. Oh boy. Okay, Chad, prepare yourselves. Breaking news. Lindsey Graham ladybugs fresh from their victory over Satan for the body and soul of John McCain. Initial reports state the corpse is directing the march towards the U.S. Virgin Islands. Soon to be known as
why are those
the U.S. Islands?
Let me ask you this, guys. If we don't end up in some sort of protracted conflict with Iran, like let's say Iran decides not to go full retard and we don't bomb them anymore, does that take the wind out of the sails of the, oh my God, we're going back to war in the Middle East crowd?
I imagine it would, but what are the odds of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to think through all the different kind of permutations, right?
Looking at the Ayatollah's weak grasp on Iranian society already, if he capitulates or in any way is seen as weak in response to a U.S. and Israeli attack, he's done. And that doesn't mean like, oh gosh, he's got to go live in exile on an island somewhere. They'll kill him. So they're a very passionate people.
Yeah. And here's the thing. There are a lot of Iranians that are not happy with their regime.
Breaking news. Major cities across the United States are now on high alert nationwide following air attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities in response to Iran's nuclear attack? What?
The attack on their nuclear.
No, the way this is worded says that we did the attacks in response to Iran launching a nuclear attack, and I've not heard that said anywhere. So,
well, that's just a poor wording, maybe even a mistranslation.
Yeah.
Well, this one works. Oldie but a goodie.
That's funny. I remember when we invaded. Hey, thanks, John Kaiser. Outstanding.
Yeah.
When we invaded Iraq, I know that many of the police departments around America had their officers sleeping in the station because they anticipated something in that first 2-week period, and nothing happened. So, do we get to that point here?
That's an excellent question. I would suspect that that's probably happening in major cities. Quietly, I would assume. Just to acknowledge that real quick, Kaiser John, thank you so much. $20 says, good to see you all tonight, regardless of the circumstances. You as well, my friend. You as well. When
we invade.
Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Sorry, I had to open the Rumble one so I could see the chat. I got off.
I think we might have lost Joe for a second. Hopefully he comes back.
Who? Me?
So
you, yeah. Yeah, I thought you were saying something, and then you cut off. You said when we invaded. Oh no! That was okay. That was Scott echoing. Now I understand. Okay.
Yeah. That was because I had just that's why I was explaining. I had to open Rumble so I could see the chat over on Rumble, but when I did that, I had to mute it.
So yeah, this guy's amazed at it, but yeah, no flight trackers are showing any U.S. military aircraft over Iran in the last 30 minutes.
Well, listen, any flight that's going to be over Iran is not going to be squawking on a transponder. So people have to stop relying on those. They're not going to be broadcasting to the world where they are if they're over Iran. Sorry. Yes, PD, they do consider themselves Persian.
Your nephew called, was back to duty at the sheriff's office on his day off over this attack. So the local level here, they're prepping. Actually,
I know that they're in Metro Detroit. Novi Police set up a dormitory for their officers. So, yeah, we shall see. But they also have the biggest terrorist target in Michigan in their territory, the 12 Oaks Mall. So.
Well, and they also have the largest number of terrorists in their territory.
That's Dearborn, but yes.
Yes. Oh my God! I'm sorry, gents. This one is too good.
That's actually not a bad point, Scott. That's probably it, right? That's probably not a bad point because Detroit would be the one place where they could generate an attack literally tomorrow, right?
Yeah. And they don't have to be Iranian to do that attack. They just have to be fellow travelers, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So we've decided we're going to rename Mexico as Iran. And tell Donald Trump that it's time to finish the job.
It's time to finish the job. Sorry about the beep noise. We are doing radio checks and testing here. So
that's a good idea. Welcome back, Jim.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Something I said that sent Jim away.
Oh no. No, I don't live in South Dakota.
I think it was all my talk about internal struggle within the Republican Party.
No. I just something popped up I had to deal with immediately, so it's now dealt with. Yeah, the people are concerned. It's the way of the world.
Hey Jim, that reminds me.
Go ahead.
Are you going to hang out at Shield Field Days, by the way?
Yeah, I was planning on it. It's on my schedule.
I'd like to. I can't hear Jim.
If that's okay. I can hear you. That's okay with you. I'd appreciate it.
No, I would love you to be there because I want to introduce all of you guys to the owner of Swan Mountain Outfitters.
Oh, cool.
He's got some stuff that applies to what you guys are doing.
Do you have an interesting minister coming this time?
An interesting what?
Minister, man of God. Preacher.
I do not this time. No.
No. Okay. Cool.
I'll be the one doing the ministering on Sunday. So we don't have Pastor Joe Fox is an interesting cat. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. I'm always willing to listen to the interesting Christian perspectives. So
I do have to say, gents, if you want to participate in like one of the weirdest things about modern war, the Ayatollah has a Twitter account and the DMs are open. So you can personally shit talk the Ayatollah.
Man,
sad thing is he probably likes it, man.
PD, I wish I had Shields Pizza coming to Shield Field Days because Shields Pizza is fantastic. And my karate school used to be right behind Shields Pizza. for the record.
Ooh.
No.
I need to get my pizza wagon back up and going, but the economy never seems to agree with that. So we'll see. I could probably bring a pizza oven up there, though.
That's pretty good. It'll be interesting to see what the next 24 hours builds as far as protest activity. I think that tomorrow being Sunday, we'll have some sort of a protest in New York City. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have them in Metro Detroit and probably Washington, D.C., where there's another big influx of folks from that region.
So a quick update on something you said earlier, Joe. Mike Shelby's got a tweet on this, which says that the IAEA lost track of 900 pounds of Iranium nuclear material last week, and that 900 pounds corroborates with the highest enriched already weapons grade stuff that they are said to have had. So I would assume that that is what they took.
Yeah, Arctic Boy will be at Shield Field Days. Yeah, I just took some reservations tonight. It'll be interesting stuff. Well, what did Be Prepared share here? Watch out Monday.
I'm pulling that up now. Let's see. This is from Asra Nomani. Not familiar with that person. Let me see who she is real quick. Former Wall Street Journal journalist. Okay. Watch America's streets. The woke army will take the Islamic Republic of Iran's war to the American streets. The woke army will serve as a proxy for the government of Iran, attempting to unleash mayhem to bring the war to America. Already just hours before the U.S. dropped bombs in Iran, they rallied in Philadelphia, U.S. and Israel out of Iran. Their mayhem will be led by the 1,500 socialist and Islamic sympathizer groups that I've identified. Oh, very cool. Throughout the Pearl District.
Oh, I see a favorite of mine in there.
Yeah, she must be in, the D Pearl Project database. Waging War on America and Israel. Yeah, I see several of our favorite people listed here. Funded by Neville Roy Singham, of course. Hey, Jim's back. Good. They will align with the 500 groups that have led anti-Trump, anti-Tesla, anti-Elon protests since Trump's election. Yeah, I think so. Oh, here we go. Yeah, they've already got it up.
Huh. Well, that was pretty fast. They had this ready to go, huh?
They sure did. June 23rd at 4 p.m. Sounds like we're on Riot Watch for Monday, boys.
Who is it? Who's calling the riot? Answer / whoever they are now.
Yeah, all on here. PSL, the DSA, everyone's on the bottom of this flyer. The Mumia movement.
Mumia movement. One of your favorites, Joe.
I know, right? Mumia Jamal. Boy, there's a lot of interesting folks on there. The Black Alliance.
Yeah, they're pulling all the old aggrieved brands out and giving them fresh money.
Yeah.
Is it the Korea Peace Community? Is that what that says?
Yeah, that's what that says.
Those are the seller Koreans.
Scott was coming to town.
Good Lord.
I
didn't know they were still around. Jesus.
No, it'll be every brand you've ever heard that did everything crazy in any street at any time that received money from the DNC or USAID will be there.
Yeah.
Apparently
Arizona's got one going tomorrow.
Here's one in June. If you scroll down, there's one tomorrow. Answercoalition.org. Nationwide emergency protests for tomorrow.
Sunday, June 22nd, stop the war on Iran. Yep. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, they had that ready and whipped up within
3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, if there's one thing socialists know how to do, it is
let's go to
organized.
Answer Coalition. If you want to pull it up and put it on the screen, go to answercoalition.org and look and see what's planned for tomorrow.
Rainbow Eggplant Day.
Ah.
Trump is a war criminal. See, that's
Fine to protest.
So this is Tim Kaine. This is Tim Kaine language bleeding into answer. Shocking.
Yeah.
So
Right.
oh, here we go. So here's what we have so far: Asheville, North Carolina, at Pack Square, Baltimore, Maryland, Druid Hill Park, Cincinnati, Ohio. Wow, I could have overlaid this before we even started. Except for maybe Providence, although they do have an anti-Pacell in Providence, but they're kind of weenies.
No, but they got Brown University, which is worse.
True. Anyhow, Cincinnati, Ohio, not real. Los Angeles, California, at the federal building. So at the same, boys, we got Riot Watch tomorrow and Monday. Like 100% we're going to be on Riot Watch. And it sounds like fairly early in the day as well. New York, Phoenix, Providence, San Marco, Texas. What?
University town, San Marcos, north
Okay.
of San Antonio, just south of Austin.
Why not pick a bigger city? That seems weird.
There's probably a cluster of Middle Eastern students there who are rather agitated.
And then Washington, D.C. at 2 p.m. So that'll mean I'll be
after
going live
brunch.
at noon tomorrow.
Oh, so
Hooray.
everybody in Washington is going to be going out after brunch to go protest.
Apparently, yeah. So I can call it now. I will be going live at noon to cover this one. The rest of these are going to be later.
Well, I
fun,
got to
man.
run up to town tomorrow, but we will check it out.
Good. Tomorrow you can have an adult beverage with Riot Watch. Oh, are you going to be not on call? That'll be fun. USAID's calling in their markers. Yeah, I'm wondering how long those are going to keep paying though. Now that there's no money to flow behind it, right? Now that it's all front-loaded money, how long are people actually going to hold true to it?
Yeah, it's funny. It's all hard cash now. It's all coming from the Soros world et al. And they're having to perform to do it, right? It was flowing for the last 10 years. It flowed without performance. Now they have to perform, which makes it much more dangerous.
I love how many people are also picking up on that if Iran is going to take legal action against the US, it's very bold of them to take us up on a who has the most talented Jews competition. Oof.
Yeah, these are not designed by somebody in their garage. These are professionally done posters.
No, it's the grievance. Yeah, it's the grievance industry, Joe. That's big money, man.
Ooh. Your 60 days are up. Captain Corgi, good to see you, bud. I was hoping to make field days this year, but it will have to be next year after the chemo is done. Oh, brother. I did do a scan the other day though, and they don't see any new cancers. That's great. That's fantastic to hear, Captain Corgi. I am very glad to hear that.
It is, and everyone should head over to Substack and find Corgi Actual's Substack.
Oh, yes.
Check it out. He posts some good stuff over there. And again, like I pointed out on my show, he's slacking a little, but he does put out some good stuff when he does.
Kaiser John with some local intel says San Antonio doesn't tolerate large disturbances. Austin is liberal, but state government troopers quell disturbances in Austin, and San Marcos is the closest convenient alternative.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I think we've probably seen what we're going to see for tonight. We'll see what happens tomorrow during the day.
Yep, I would keep an eye out. If you have not done so already, chat, I would as my old NCO would say, it would behoove you to ensure that your gas tank is full. And if you have any spare gas cans, probably also fill those as well.
Yeah, I would do that as early in the day tomorrow as you can.
Or tonight if you can. Gas stations are usually open after dark. Beat the rush.
You have any idea what it takes to go to a gas station from here?
Well, for you, definitely. Yeah, not you. You're going tomorrow. Also, I don't even
It's
think
a
that place has
full-on
pumps that are open after
expedition,
dark.
and after dark, the deer will probably kill me before I get there.
Accurate.
Actually, the deer just disable you, and the bear will kill you.
Oh, hey, so we had another bear come on the property last night, and I was outside with the dog, and that bear took one look at Thor and decided he had urgent business elsewhere. He was like, "Nope, that dog looks mean. I'm out."
Wrench Turner, who would know a thing or two about the topic, says it will save you some money, and he is absolutely correct. Lance Corporal Veteran for $1. How well will the coalition around Trump, I'm assuming you're saying, survive the attack on Iran? Well, I think you're going to see some people who I'm not going to lie. I think there are some people who were acting pretty out of pocket and pretty strategically unwise in the U.S. political field. Some commentators that we can just say it, Tucker and Friends, very obviously made the wrong calls on how loudly and who to support. It's very weird. It's this, and I could be wrong here, but I see a connection. I really do. Is it just me, or is everybody who is seemingly willing to try and defend Andrew Tate seem to be the ones who are on the pro-Israel side of the or not Israel, pro-Iranian side of the Republican Party?
Why would anyone defend Andrew Tate?
Great question. And yet they do.
Guy's a moron.
Scott says pizza shop, question mark. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where that's coming from. Be prepared has one for us from Chronicle.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Oh, Chad, I just realized. Chat, I just realized I actually have one. Hold on. Hello. We have been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
Yeah, I wouldn't really poke that bear. He's probably getting 1 million of them tonight.
Yep.
Or his people are.
Oh, I see. People are asking pizza shop. You guys are asking about the pizza monitoring account. Give me just a moment. The Pentagon Pizza Report.
Listen, that's how the Panamanians knew, or the Russians knew that we were invading Panama that night.
Well, the pizza index is high, boys. The closest Papa John's to Petit John is reporting extreme high levels of activity as of 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Okay. Yeah, Scott, the pizza shop is where the gas is closest for me, but that's still a long ways away.
Oh, yeah. Also, they're not even selling pizza right now. It's already closed, which makes that place is so good. Oh.
That reminds me, I should get a pizza from that lady. Those pizzas were good. And that's the one time in my life when Watcher forced me to put a pineapple pizza in my car. Mrs. Watcher forced me to put a pineapple pizza in my car.
The Watchlings appreciated it.
If it wasn't for the Watchlings, that pizza would have been sitting on the side of Highway 83.
I ran on the phone with their centrifuge manufacturers right now. No, sir, we cannot warranty.
Yeah, this definitely falls in. This is force majeure.
Yeah, this certainly would be a force majeure. Oh, hey, look at that. We all know what it means, Scott.
Any bomb over 25,000 pounds falls into force majeure.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I think we've seen all we're going to see tonight. It's time to be prepping for tomorrow. I think it's time to punch out. I think.
I agree. Everybody do your radio checks. Make sure your family's okay. Make sure that those who don't pay as much attention as you do know that it's time to fill up the car.
Seriously, make a comms plan and stick to it. Carry a radio with you.
And we'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks for being here.
Be good, y'all.